Good morning, everyone. Jim Clark here at the Synchronicity Sanctuary to share another contemplative focus with you today. And the focus that I want to share with you today is the human experience evolving from incoherence to coherence. But the many dimensions of ourselves exist on the same page. They speak the same language and sing the same song. This transforms our state of being and becomes a melody of stillness. So this is another way to look at the multidimensionality of ourself, and to come to an understanding of how many dimensions can operate in such a way that our awareness expands and includes them all. So this is basically what meditation is doing, and what it means to have balance. When you create balance through meditation, what is that really all about? So we have to look at the coherent and incoherent aspects of our own existence. And what is that primarily? Well, when we're born into life and we have a mind which is basically empty in the beginning, and then it begins to fill itself up. And as it does that, and as we take on more and more information and identification with whatever has been put in our minds, then we have an incoherent experience of the mental dimension. It's busy, it's noisy, it's in conflict, it's all kinds of things, but it is not harmonious with the rest of our dimensions. And possibly our emotions can also be totally distorted depending on our experiences that we've had growing up. And so we have some basic parts of the human experience that we take for granted, and we don't recognize that they're part of a whole, and that in order for us to expand our awareness, to grow out of the limitations of just being a flesh and blood human being, and realize that the flesh and blood human being is a form of consciousness and that we are it. Okay? In order for that realization to be experienced, something beyond the mind, something that is so powerful and so blissful, okay, that it is fulfilling on the one hand and it is informative on the other. And that is to quiet the mind and the emotions and the body down, and to get them to settle into a very minimal state of activity when we meditate. And this takes some doing, because coherence and incoherence really have to relate with how we are existing, how we're vibrating, how we are oscillating within the framework of our own existence, our multidimensional existence. If we have a busy mind and it's dominating our experience, what's going on in the heart, what's going on up in the subtle dimensions is a mystery, because we're not communicating with it, and it's not communicating with us because we're cut off. The mental dimension is probably the most prominent dimension in our day and time, particularly in the West, that's so busy and so full of information, right or wrong or good or bad, that going out of that, stepping beyond that in terms of having the experience of oneness, having the experience of being consciousness, having any kind of fulfilling experience, is pretty much impossible to have until you take responsibility for your state of being and start to meditate and start to grow your balance. And then when the mind finally settles down and the emotions are settled and you become more and more still within yourself, then breakthroughs come. This is when, either by karma or by your own intentions and your own involvement with your spiritual awareness, you have breakthrough moments where something comes to you that informs you of something far beyond just the human experience as a flesh and blood body. That you are much, much more than that. But that kind of information isn't verbal. It's the language of it is beyond language. It's just there. It's information that's always around. It's embedded in existence itself, and yet you can't access that information. You can't experience that kind of information until you have grown your own awareness to the point where the mind is quiet and every bit of your body and your emotions and everything is kind of at a resting state, so you can just focus. It's like focusing your energy, because you are energy, and bringing it into a state of coherence rather than being all over the place. And that's then it's like an antenna. It can communicate and receive and give information that goes far beyond the human body and the confines of it. This is something that I learned when I was in high school. I was operated amateur radio for a while and studied all this kind of stuff, and realized from experience that if things weren't synced just right, if you weren't tuned just right, then you couldn't receive any information. You couldn't put it out there. You couldn't communicate, and you couldn't receive communication. So it's like that. It's like a tuning fork. It's like when you're symphonic, when every part of yourself is operating on the same page, as I said, then it's not a chaotic noise that's just filling space. It becomes a symphony, a song, a kind of a oneness that is saying, okay, let's see how far out I go. Let's see how far this beauty and this love and this grace that is everywhere all the time never goes anywhere. But we do. Sometimes we go all over the place, and sometimes we're very still. When we're still, we access that in some form or another, and we experience that. That is us connecting with our higher self, what we call our higher self, our true self, the source that we are, which goes back to taking a form, living a life, having the experiences, in the pretense of the primary intention in consciousness to fully be itself, is experiencing itself, even though it's not a true experience. It's an experience that cannot happen unless there is polarity. And in this polarized field of experience that we're in, your mind is polarized, your emotions are polarized, your physical body is polarized, and those polarities have to be brought into some kind of balance so that they can be communicating with each other and acting as one. You have one body, but you have many dimensions in that body, and if they're all over the place, then you're all over the place, and communicating and receiving communication is just not going to happen very much. So no amount of effort on your part will help until you settle down and meditate and gain the balance that you need from meditation. That, in my experience, is something that requires patience and self-love. You have to really love yourself to put yourself through that kind of discipline where you devote time to unplug from that constant external objective focus. What's going on out there, that world of people, that world of events, that world of news. because that is the world of imbalance. That is the fragmented world. Just, excuse me, that is very busy with its fantasies and illusions that it's creating about itself. Who you are, who they are, what is good, what is bad. All these things that we entertain mentally on a daily basis, and for no really good reason, because we're just trying to come to some kind of a judgment. We're attempting to understand what we will never understand. It's just far too much and well beyond what our mental capacity has to understand. It involves way too much complexity, and it's actually the orchestration of reality that's happening, and we are a part of that. But it's not the show that we're not in charge of it in that sense as an individual human being, but we are integral to that. And our place and our role and our experiences that we have in life are orchestrated according to what we have to get back to the oneness that we are, to move ourselves from a fragmented state of being to a coherent state of being, to a quiet state of being that is connected with all our dimensions, all our subtle dimensions that rise up and spread out and are in touch with reality of source consciousness. And that really is all there is to say about this. It's something that comes into your life when you're ready for it to happen. Entertaining meditation, entertaining multidimensionality of your own existence, entertaining something that goes beyond what your normal faculties can comprehend, comes to you when you have had enough experience being limited, being fragmented, being incoherent. So after many, many lifetimes of this, when you have reached a point where you are fulfilled in the experience of being limited and being subject to illusion and self-judgment and the torment of it, that's when you begin to move towards the other spectrum of the polarized reality that we have here on Earth. And that's when meditation shows up. That's when your teachers show up, whatever they are, whoever, that brings you some awareness and start you on the journey of a conscious journey towards a oneness. You are one, and you are consciousness. That is the essential truth of all life here on planet Earth. And yet, what do we see and how do we experience it? Isn't it like a potpourri of fragmented bits and pieces of life here and there, and billions of people, all different and seemingly separate from ourselves? This is the grand show of consciousness and who it is not. This is the stage that we go into, that we play out our lives in, and hopefully we gain enough awareness in the process to punch a hole through that illusion with coherence. The coherence within ourself that then turns us into like an antenna that can receive the information that's always there. The information of oneness, the information of an experience of one blissful consciousness. And as we tune ourselves to that through our practice, through our devotion, and through our focus, what you honors you is one of the phrases that my teacher often shared with us. And it was another way of saying that if your focus is constantly geared to the external world of illusion, of activity, of the drama of life lived without awareness, then you're feeding yourself this information constantly, and and giving yourself that as your reference point for your own existence. And so you're creating how you're going to be based on your focus, but you don't even realize that your power as source consciousness is operative here. And if you constantly put your focus on something that's fragmented, something that's disharmonious, something that's incoherent, then you will gradually resonate with that. And likewise, if you put your focus on coherence, if you put your focus on what is still and what is subjective, you will start to develop that aspect of your being, and that is where the possibility, inevitability of communicating and realizing what is beyond the senses and what is beyond the human limitation. And what is there? What is it? And how do you fit in? This is where you get that information. It's not something that can be spoken of. It's something that can be pointed to. And then hopefully you will just give yourself to that when you have a little taste of the blissfulness of it. And this is what's happened with me in my life and countless number of other individuals who are on the similar path in one form or another. And that's really what I wanted to share with you, and what I always share here is that meditation, the primary balancing technique that has been used by human beings throughout the millennia, is the way to oneness. It's the way to coherence. It's the way to realize, not think about, but realize the one blissful consciousness that is all and everything. So that's what I wanted to share with you this morning, and I hope that it's helped you in some way, helped you stimulate you to meditate and to celebrate yourself as a human being, a conscious human being, on your way to your own fulfillment. So next week we're having a program here at the Synchronicity Sanctuary, so I won't be doing my live stream. But the week after that, I will be back on. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.